All right, folks, welcome back. I'm not sure how long it's been since the last video is up, the demo. If you haven't watched that video already, I'll link it below. Check out the channel for a lot of home DIY videos and tech reviews. Anyway, this video is going to be for plumbing. We're going to move my vent pipe so I can get my window in. I have an Anderson like 22 by 22 window, square window. That needs to go right here. That needs to go right in the middle. So we're actually going to move that stud over, build a frame around that, pop that window in. I'm going to actually have to pop an access point through the roof to get to my vent tube because I want that Anderson window a little bit up higher. And because it's a vent tube, I'm not overly concerned with a turn up above. I don't want to turn right here because I need to build out my header right here and because the window is going to be up a little higher. That's why I'm doing my turn above. And again, it's just a vent tube, not a water line. That vent tube comes down, so what I'll do is I'll probably move it over here all the way to the edge of this stud. I got to make out my measurements for my header and my window frame, and then we'll connect it down. We'll show you a little bit more about what is under here, as well as cutting that, capping it off. That was for the old bathtub. This is the old 1992 piping. We're gonna redo all that. It actually was horrible connections behind here, which was actually slowly leaking. Not too bad, but a few drips is more than you want. As you can see here, this is the weirdest thing. This is, again, a vent tube. This is not a water line. This is for the plumbing, for, I believe, the toilet, shower, etc. And they had a big jacuzzi tub in here if you saw the demo video. It's coming at a weird angle right here. So I need to take that straight down through the subflooring and connect it below this piece of plywood, which the previous owner did after he put in the jacuzzi tub, which was a different tub than the original tub in this house. Again, 1992. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's walk you through the process and what we've done the past couple days. Okay, number one, tight bathroom, a lot of tools. I'm used to this, but this will probably frustrate you at one time. So just organize and you'll be a lot happier. So let's go ahead and walk through this. Number one, because I am tiling, I need this frame, these studs back here, level, square, flush, meaning that when the tile lays on, there's not little dips in it. So you're probably wondering about this one right here. I don't know what that one was. I wrote that. Jesus bless this home. I 100% agree with that. Please, Lord. Now this stud right here is actually in compared to this one. And I actually shimmed in some shims right up here to make this one flush as well. So let me kind of walk you through this process. So number one, this would never be in your house. I don't know what that was. When I pulled off the drywall, that was like that. Who knows? I've seen some pretty rinky-dinky construction in this house. Not to mention this electrical Romex right here is drilled into here, but it was just straight, like straight behind the drywall of the bathroom, not through the studs as it should be. I have no way to put it through the studs, so I notched out with my oscillating tool, so that will be indented in and not smashed up against the backer board. Okay, coming up here, I put a 2x4, not a 2x6, these are 2x6 studs. I put a 2x4 all the way to the top, almost all the way to the top, and that's just gonna be for a flush end for my backer board. The previous 2x6 back there, I'm gonna have to do a small little frame for the tiling wall here to fit in my shower. Not that big of a deal. I put this in right here for my shower handle. We're going to get to that either in this video or the next video. Then I cut down a 2x6 right here. Now, when you're at the store buying your 2x6s, 2x4s, eyeball them to make sure they're flat and don't bow out, bow left, bow up, and then flip them over here on this side and look at them this side, make sure they don't bow off like that. So as you can see, this one was pretty stellar. We're talking about the inside one right here. But as you can see, a very slight itty bitty 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 bow right here. As you can see, a little gap right here. That's not big of a deal at all, but look how nice and tight it is through there. Now, I have a very small room to work with. The dimensions are like almost perfect. Let me talk about the construction for my 2x2 Anderson window with the outside flange. Now, typically in a heavier window. If you guys have not watched my master bedroom window, this is 96 inches. You're gonna have to be by the book permitted construction on this one because that takes up so much room on the wall. Now, regards to this little small 2x2 bathroom, I have all these studs hanging up this. This is only a single story house, very minimal weight, just the roof, trusses, etc. Again, very minimal weight, not concerned at all about sagging roof. But on my master bedroom, I had to do it spit shine. You're like, Chris, what are you talking about? Well, let's go ahead and look at my construction on my header. This is what you would not do for a large window or if you had a second story, but because I'm working in such a tight space, I literally needed every centimeter, every eighth of an inch for my window. I toe-nailed in a 2x6 to this stud here. I cut down some 2x6s to fit in the gap up there as well for my header. This is how you should do it on both sides. This stud sits right here as the header lays right on top. And what that does is that puts, if there's any weight, that puts all the weight on your framing stud. I do not have one going up right here, again, because it's a small window. The toenail nails screws in here and just one side. I'm totally fine with that. It's safe. I actually did the same construction on my doorway, toe-nailed in right here, and then this one sits on a stud for my doorway right here. Again, single story. If you're worried about it, definitely consult a contractor. But in my case, I'm super pumped up about how it turned out. The studs are nice and flush, except for the top. I'm gonna have to drywall shim up there at the very, very top so my backer board goes on nice and smooth. My vent pipe is up there. I was dry fitting it. I still need to permanent cement it in with the connections. That's gonna go down this slot right here, and then it's gonna go over right here because the window only goes to like I think right where this line is, 2x2. So the 1.5 inch vent pipe for the shower bathroom is then going to cut over, and then it needs to go down here and connect in with my freestanding tub plumbing right here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and mark out exactly my window. I want a 1/4 inch all the way around for being able to shimmy it in, and then we'll use shims to level it off. But I'm gonna go ahead and mark out my window, cut out my exterior wall. Okay, now with that said, I am not done with my framing yet. I still need to put in my footer board, meaning where the window will rest here. And then I'll need some footer boards coming up to brace that, probably just one on each side here. I might do one in the middle as well. I'm not exactly sure if I'm gonna do a shower niche or not. I kind of wanted the full 5 foot. That's 5 feet. Looks a lot smaller on camera, but that's 5 feet, 3 inches across. That would be about a 2 foot niche, and I think it's a little bit smaller for my tastes. I might do that on the next bathroom I do. I'm gonna do a really long niche with an LED light. Pretty sick. Was planning on doing it to this. It's just a little tough with all the studs and all that nonsense. All right, I'm gonna walk you through the process here, and it's a little bit windy outside, forgive it, but let's go ahead and show you what we're doing here. So first and foremost, how I made this cut, you can do a regular, circular saw. This is just a Bauer 4.5 inch blade set to the depth so I didn't cut into the 2x6s, and then I finished it up with my oscillating tool right here. Let's go ahead and head on up here. Now be very careful, especially if you are going to be on a ladder. So obviously I messed up a little bit right here. Be careful of when you set it in, sometimes it grabs and it wants to tug on you. So be careful about that. That's easily fixable. I'm going to also be painting, so not that big of a deal. Okay, so I marked it out with a level. It's a small window. I didn't need a chalk line like I did on the master window here. And I knew about where the 2x6 studs were. And so I backed it up, cut through, did my whole entire box. Had to do a little bit of oscillating to make sure it fits just beautifully here. This is my new 2x6 right here. The top is looking good. I have enough exposed 2x6 on the top. I have not done the bottom yet. I actually did my cut first. Now I'm gonna lay in my bottom sill right here to rest on and to screw or nail into the flange. But the flange sits beautifully the holes are exposed, ready for nailing in. But before we do that, we need to put on our bottom sill, and then we needed to get either house wrap, or what I did on the master bedroom windows, because I have a lot left over, is I'm gonna do fire and ice roof matting that you put underneath your roof, and then you put your shingles on. Same method applies. Fire and ice is actually, I think, more waterproof, and so I'm gonna slip it back there. I'm gonna wrap it, and then to double it up, I'm gonna get my window tape, which I'm gonna show you as well. I have 9-inch. I might have to cut it down to slip it in, and we'll show you that. This has a nice little give to it right here. It gets a little tighter up here, but there's a little bit of give. If you have siding or shingles, it gets really tight in here, so I'm probably gonna have to take a little crowbar, bend that back just a little bit to slip it as far as I can back over here. Obviously, I'm gonna keep it as is. I'm gonna do board and batten. I'm not gonna do all new siding. If I was, I'd take it all down, house wrap the whole thing. It would be a lot better in that regards, but we're working with what we got right here. I do have a couple nails right here and here. I'm probably gonna have to remove those. Actually, I know I'm gonna have to remove those to slip in my fire and ice a little bit deeper. I got some nails right here. I might have to undo those as well to slip it as far as I can this way as well. I'm probably gonna go at least, I'm gonna try to go about 6 inches or so all the way around with my fire and ice, and then about the same with my tape wrap as well. All right, dry fit is looking really good. I have not put my fire and ice or house wrap underneath and window tape. I'm just doing a little bit of pre-check before I do that. As you can see here, all the holes are lining up with the studs, looking absolutely spectacular. I'm not gonna have to cut off any more of this. I've removed the nails. I'm gonna tuck, again, fire and ice and window wrap underneath. I unfortunately ran out of time today. I got to get to a birthday party, so I think I'm going to try my best to secure this, maybe with just like a couple screws at the top, just so it doesn't fall down. It is kind of windy. It's actually really snug in there right now. The flange is actually kind of hooked in underneath, but I don't trust it, obviously, if the wind does pick up. So I'm probably going to just tack in a few screws so that it can be a little bit sheltered. It's not too cold at night anymore here in Colorado, and that will just prevent it from falling over. And then tomorrow I'll pull it back down, do my fire and ice house window wrap like I keep mentioning. All right, forgive the wind. I'm going to talk a little bit louder to overtake that wind. A little bit windier than it was yesterday. Now, after the perfect dry fit, we pulled off the window, and I have put my fire and ice, or you can do house wrap. Let's go ahead and take a look. Now, in the perfect world, I would prefer staples, but I could not find my staple gun, and so these are roofing nails meant for fire and ice. Obviously, if you have house wrap, just staple it in, and if you have any seams like this right here, in a perfect world, we shouldn't have those, but it is a little tight right here. So the first thing you do, lay your strip down here at the bottom, overlap, or just try to go as far as you can, but obviously you're not going to be able to staple into over here, but it's going to be better than nothing. So try to go over as far as you can, and that's going to be our first row down here at the bottom. Then you're going to lay in your sides down here, overlapping this by about maybe 5 inches, 6 inches or so down here. Same thing on this side, go down, overlap it about 5 or 6 inches. Again, in the perfect world, I wouldn't have, this is just the underlayment sticky part, and I did not pull off that plastic, I just slipped it in. It'd be way too hard to slip that in with that backing done because it would be too sticky to slip in. So I just left that white plastic on the back of my fire and ice roofing material if you do go this route. Flathead roofing nails that nail in nice and flat. And again, in the perfect world, if it was cut perfect, you wouldn't have any seams up here at the top. But if you do have seams, notice how it's flowing outwards as this seam is on top, going down. Again, if any water gets in there, it's going down. If this seam was on top, it would get caught like this. Now remember, we're going to be putting in our window waterproofing membrane as well that we're going to stick on here in just a second, and that is going to be a lot easier than the fire and ice cutting the sheets that it was cut in. So we'll do the exact same thing I just told you about. We're going to take it's right down there. I have the 9-inch. They also sell a 6-inch as well. I might have to cut down my 9-inch a little bit smaller to be able to fit in here. But again, I'm going to start it as far over as I can, right about here. We're going to run it right across the seam here as far as we can over there. Now, if this sheet wasn't there, I'd lay a nice piece right here and then double it up and then fold it into the sill here. I will show you that. So again, start with the bottom and then pick a side, go down. Now when you start it, see if you can get it about 5 or 6 inches up here as well. Coming down, overlapping your bottom 5 or 6 inches. Same thing over here on the right hand side, coming down 5 or 6 inches. And then lastly, you're gonna overlap over here 5 or 6 inches and going all the way over here 5 or 6 inches and then putting it right here at the top. And what that does is that just interior, if water does get in there, it flows downward. Okay, you're probably not going to be able to hear me, but I'm going to talk the best I can. It is extremely windy today, and I want to get this sealed up before dark. It is warm though, so I'm not too concerned. Anyway, make a long story short, slipping in my fire and ice, it worked out okay, but then I was trying to slip in my window trim tape membrane and that just wouldn't slide in. So I'm gonna do it right. I pulled off the whole entire siding right here with the window already cut like we've already seen. And so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna do it right. I'm gonna go ahead and go all the way over, tucking it into that stud there and going all the way down. Now obviously if I had house wrap, I would do that. With the house wrap, I do have, again, fire and ice on hand. So I'm gonna stick it up all the way over, across, and then we'll show you how to properly put on the window membrane tape. All right, let's take a look. Well, the wind is down right now. Now, obviously this isn't complete right here, but the insulation's gonna hook up against there. It was too tight to fit in that corner without pulling off that entire panel as well. But let's go ahead and give you the basics here. So the fire and ice, I went from the bottom up, so the seams go downwards like this. And then the window wrap, you put your strip on the bottom first, then you put your side down, and then your top over the top of it. Now the side ones, I've gone all the way up to the top up here, and the bottom of the side one goes down about 5 or 6 inches, overlapping the bottom. Same with the right one up there, overlapping down on the bottom right here. Again, the seams going this way for the water flow going that way here. Let's go ahead and look at my inner sill. This is an option if you want to do this. Would be to do a second little wrap laying over the bottom portion, and it goes up here. Now this one, it was either cut it or put it on the interior here. So I just put it on the interior here, razor blade that. And again, you can see how my top one is overlapping over my side one here. And same over here on this side here with this one floating all the way over. Now, I just wanted extra protection. I already bought the 9-inch. You can do the 6-inch if you don't want as thick, obviously, of a band there. I might razor blade just this little top portion off if it's gonna come undone like that there. You might have to use a little bit of adhesive spray or primer, whatnot, on the back of that, but it looks like it's holding pretty good there. So coming down here, again, folding it up, Ving it right there, and bringing it up all the way to the edge right here. And that's just going to give you more protection. If it goes this way, then it'll go ahead and flow downward. This is a lot better than what this house did have. This house had no house wrap, no window tape at all. And as you can see here, my fire and ice will run down right here. And I do probably need to put in a jack stud underneath here, and then I'll go ahead and staple gun or nail it in the center channel here. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a nice little bead of silicone all the way around right here, right on the edge here. Not where I'm going to be nailing it in, obviously, but just below where the nails enter in. I'm going to put a bead of silicone all the way around. We'll get the window in, but I will do a dry fit with my level first one more time before I do that, because obviously once you press it in with the silicone bead, you want it to hold. You want to get your nails or screws up in there. So let's do a dry fit first, see if we need to shim it for levelness, and then we'll put that bead of silicone all the way around, even on the bottom here, sides, top, just underneath our nail area of our flange. Okay, that is really nice. It is always nice when you put the window in, dry fit it, and you don't have to shim it at all. Looking at the level, perfect this way. And then also do it on the edge here with your level as well. I've already done that. and it measures out level on the sides as well. Super pumped on that. So what I'll do now is I will very carefully grab my hammer and nail and probably bring this window down. And if you're wondering, this is not 27 by 27. They marked it wrong. It's 24 by 24. I bought it at Restore Habitat for Humanity. Got an Anderson window brand new for 35 bucks. That was a pretty good deal in my opinion. So I'm gonna grab my hammer and I'll show you what nails I will be using. But before we do nail or screw it in, and I'll show you the different options here, don't forget your bead of silicone, again, all the way around the edge as I showed you. Okay, once again, that bead of silicone is giving us an extra layer of protection for no moisture or water to come in from rain or snow here in Colorado. Again, it's below my nailing area of my flange and to the inner portion of the nailing flange. So I'll be nailing just on the outside of the bead of silicone here. Now, another option other installers do is you can either do it on the edge like we see right here with the window tape, or potentially if you really want to, you could even double it up. I don't think there's a need for that, but as I mean double up is when you nail into the flange, then you would lay on another kind of side channel area going over the window flange. Some other installers do that. Okay, before that starts drying on me, I'm going to go ahead and now put my window back in, go ahead and make sure it's level one more time, grab my nails or screws, and we'll go ahead and pop a couple in and then get it going. All right, so I'm going to use a few of these screws to hold it in place first. It's just easier with the window in one hand. I don't have a helper. The window's up high. I'm on a ladder. These are exterior stainless steel screws. These are 1.25 inches. I'm going to go ahead and use these for a few of the holes, and then I'm going to determine if I want to continue to use all of my openings to go ahead and use screws, or these are roofing nails. If you're going to go with nails, now this is obviously for a nail gun. I'm going to pull these apart. These are the only nails that I have that are a little bit longer. I'm going to use different roofing nails than my fire and ice waterproof matting. These should be about the same size, 1.25 inches, and it looks like they are. And I want longer nails or screws because obviously I want to be holding in the window nice and secure. So once again, this is for a nailing gun, but very simple to pull these off with gloves, nail them in. Again, sometimes if it's the only thing you have on hand, you go with that instead of a box of nails. Also, let me show you this here. So I'm going to be using screws. I just find it a little bit easier. So as I go in, and I'm not pre-drilling either, because these screws are kind of small and short anyway. So what you're going to do is you're actually going to see it pressing in on the edge here as it's going in. And I'm going to go ahead and just do it a little bit tighter. But as you screw it in, you'll actually see this get nice and snug up against your window tape, also pressing into your silicone around the edge. Don't, if you're going with screws or even nails, don't be beating on it too much. You don't want to be cracking your flange. So I'd say nice and snug, again, without cracking it. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to use a little bit of the power drill, but obviously not pulling the trigger, just to snug that up real nice there. And I feel good about that. All right, the wind is down a little bit today and we're looking really good. Okay, so the window is screwed in, the bead of caulk is behind it. This is a little bit overkill, but we're just gonna do it anyway. And to be honest with you, I jumped the gun a little bit and sealed this in before I realized, oh yeah, now I gotta put protective window film over the edges of the flange. So you're not gonna do this to your bottom of your flange. You want to use the bottom of the flange. You want to keep that open just like it is here for water flow. But your sides, your top, and your right side of your window, you're gonna put the window film tape over the flange. And as you can see here, there's a little crease right to the left of my finger. I'm gonna put it right up against that, not all the way in that water canal, if you can see that right there. So not all right here, right to the edge where it's flat. I'm gonna put the window trim tape right on the edge of that. Same method applies as this first round, where I'm gonna go 5 or 6 inches up, coming down, 5 or 6 inches down here. And this was, I had a flow channel. I just caulked it just because, not necessary. And I'll do 5 or 6 inches down, same exact thing, 5 or 6 inches up, over the flange on this side, 5 or 6 inches down right here. Again, not doing the bottom. And then we'll do the top once again, 5 or 6 inches over the flange on the top, 5 or 6 inches over to the right here. Okay, just like this here. Again, our left side was put on first. And if you do get any of these little ridges, try your best to flatten them out the best you can. If you do have any air bubbles, some people use a roller. If you did go really deep up there and you don't want to remove your trim, definitely get a 3-4 inch drywall knife up there. Paint scraper will work the same thing, and go ahead and mat it down. And you can actually do that just like this here. You know, just be careful obviously not to rip it or anything like that. I just use my hands, my fingers, getting it nice and tight up against the edge, as we can see here, but not in my water channel distribution right here. That one came down, ends right here, flow of channels that way. Then I went to my right side, same exact thing, flattening it down all the way. And then lastly, I put on my top strip. Same exact thing applies, just above the channel distribution. So what that does, if rain does collect in there, it gets in here and comes down here. And then what happens on the bottom, because this is exposed, it is able to release down below here and go downwards, is what we want it to do. So that is looking absolutely fantastic. The window is level, everything is beautiful. The light that comes in the bathroom now is amazing. I am going to be painting this window black, as with that one. That one on the interior is black. We also are going to be putting some nice trim around this as well. And after I put up this back up, there is going to be a slight gap on all sides. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some exterior caulk and put that in to get a little bit less of a gap in there. Obviously not to fill in my water channel right here with that. And then I'll put on some nice wood trim accent. And I need to do the same thing with this window. See this little gap right here? That's all caulked in right there. And we'll still need to do our wood trim around that as well. Don't let the party stop, guys. Hit one of these videos, continue to watch, and we'll see you soon.